Hey, welcome back to the Common Ground North Dakota podcast. I'm Heather.
And I'm Jen.
I've been a chef for 10 years.
And I'm a registered dietitian. We've all heard the saying, farm to table. But what if the conversation was table to farm?
Join Jen and I as we sit down with ag experts to dig in and find out more about North Dakota agriculture. Welcome back to Common Ground North Dakota podcast. I'm Heather.
I'm Jen.
How are you doing?
Good.
Yes?
Yeah. I'm busting out the grilling
Yes.
lately.
Spring.
With the
I love
nice
your
weather.
spring colors.
I know. I sometimes have to be bright, just to shake it up a bit.
Yeah, we were ready for this. We deserve
think so.
warm weather.
Yeah. Yeah. So what have you been making lately?
I have been lightening it up in the kitchen too, like
Yeah?
lots of dill and lemon and tons of fresh
Yum.
herbs. I got my first local tomatoes this week.
Yes, I saw that.
I almost cried because I've waited months
I know.
for something fresh. Well, I've had potatoes, which
Yeah.
God bless potatoes, right?
I
They're
know.
there all year long.
Standard.
I can get the local
It's
potatoes.
like the bananas and oranges, like apples. Those are your standard,
Yes.
cold weather fruits. But yeah, the tomatoes, that's when we're getting into prime fruit and vegetable season, right?
Yes, things will start going in the ground. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. And we talk with our local farmers, in our last podcast, and I'm sure they're all getting busy now.
I bet,
are
right?
anxiously awaiting planting.
They might be in the fields.
I know.
Who knows?
I know.
So we've got some guests today. Speaking of food,
Yes.
a local pasta company.
I'm so excited. I love pasta.
Me
And in
too.
sports nutrition, I feel like, there's not enough pasta.
Right,
ever
they need that
for
to carb
athletes.
up before.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's a big thing.
Yeah. And they constantly need to refuel with carbohydrates. So this is exciting to have a pasta
Yes.
company to visit with.
Let's introduce.
Yeah.
So, right, today we're here with 3 farm daughters. Thanks for coming.
Hello. Thanks for
Hi.
having us.
We've got Annie and Grace.
Hi.
Hi. Do you want to introduce yourselves and
Yeah,
tell us kind of what your role in the farm is?
So I'm Annie. I'm the eldest 3-farm daughter.
And I'm Grace. I'm the youngest.
And so we have 2/3 here. We are missing 1/3, who is the middle daughter. That's the benefit of having a family business and different partners. When you're being pulled and pushed in different directions, you can always multitask and delegate. So
Yes. So Molly's doing something else today.
She is. So Annie's main role in 3FD is, it's hard to even say like our role because
Yeah.
every day kind of has to ebb and flow. But
Mhm.
we put her on finances, her big one. And then I do a lot of our marketing, and Molly does all of our
Okay.
supply chain logistics and managing partner relationships. So
So you work to your strengths.
we try our best.
Yes. And do a great job.
Yes.
Tell us more about your farm or how you grew up. Where did you grow up? Like
Because
what?
I know you guys have kids, and I'm always seeing you on the farm with
Mhm.
your kids. Was it like that when you were growing up too? Were you in the combines and on the farm a lot?
yeah, so we do farm in the Red River Valley. Our parents started our farm in 1993. So I was about 3 years old. They are first generation farmers. My parents, Paul and Susie, they were blessed with 3 farm daughters. Cue the pasta company. So they didn't have any sons, but they did have a nephew, Michael, who's our cousin. He's an intricate part of our farm. He's almost more like a brother. I think God gives you children in like different ways, and I kind of see him in that realm in a sense. So he's a huge part of our family farming operation. So we've been farming in the Red River Valley again since 1993. Michael came on board in 1995 and has been there ever since. We're grain farmers. We also raise sugar beets in the valley.
Okay.
And then we do raise potatoes in Illinois.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Oh,
so we
that's
started that a
interesting.
couple years after we started the farm in North Dakota. So
Oh, neat. So when you were growing up, did you think, I want to be part of this? This is something I'm interested in? Or did this just come later in life?
So one thing with a family operation is that, especially when you're starting off and you're an entrepreneur, like our parents, they started the farm, it is all hands on deck, meaning you don't have hours, you don't have a schedule. It is when you are required to do something, you execute it. Otherwise, it doesn't get done.
Mhm.
So because of that, we really lived at the farm office. I mean, there was pack and plays there. There still is pack and plays at the farm office. We brought basically our family into our work. And because of that, we have memories of riding in the combine with Mike and, doing field tours, but was I out in the grain cart driving all the time? No, but I was in the office quite a bit. Our family never pushed the farm on us necessarily. I would say, it was never like, you will grow up and be a farmer and come back and, take over the farm. It was always an option, but it was never pushed. So interesting enough, we all left Grand Forks and went and got our degrees, and we all came back to the farm, which is weird because we never planned on that.
So when you were leaving, did you think, okay, I'm going to go to school, go off, do my own thing? Or did you think you'll end up coming back to Grand Forks?
Personally, I planned on leaving and coming back eventually.
Okay.
But I had different career plans at the time.
Okay.
And then when this came, it just made so much sense for the three of us to come together. Just with the three personalities, it's like this harmonious trio that works because our personalities are similar enough to work really well together, but different enough that our individual skill sets are really complementary.
You do make a great team.
Well, and you do have a variety of skill sets and backgrounds. So what are your degrees in, and what do you specialize in with your company?
You can start. She's the eldest, so I just she has to go first.
When we do this, we usually sit in like birth order, and then I feel like when we answer questions, it always is like, okay, Annie, you're up. Like Annie, Molly, Grace. So that's what we're used to. So if she looks at me, that's what she's doing. Like, hey, it's your turn.
Awesome. You go first.
So I went to Bethel University. I got my undergrad in finance and marketing. I didn't know what I was going to do after that. I moved back to Grand Forks. I did go to UND for my master's. I was dating someone at the time, and I don't like to say that I moved back to Grand Forks because of a boy, but a little bit of my decision was played into that. He's now my husband, so happy ending.
So good move. Good move.
Smart investment. So I moved back to Grand Forks, got my MBA, and I also got my real estate license.
Oh, cool.
So I wasn't exactly sure what I was going to do. I sold residential real estate for a couple years under Career Real Estate. And I wasn't, I still loved ag.
Okay.
So I kind of liked real estate, but I loved ag, and I couldn't kind of like figure out where my niche was. And I loved the farm. So I also, at that time, had come back into the farm and was working in the office.
Okay.
So doing some HR stuff, some numbers management, things like that, operations. So I actually started an ag real estate company with my husband, David, in 2018. Time goes so fast. It's hard to know. So that was a marriage between agriculture and real estate that I love.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah. So did that, and then also worked on the farm, things like that. So So my background is kind of like real estate.
But ag too was always kind of in there.
Yeah.
And what about you, Grace?
I'll give like a brief on Molly's just so this makes sense, like the trio wise. But Molly also went to Bethel after she graduated. She wasn't sure what she's going to do, but she had a professor that said, you should go to law school. And if you know Molly in person, you know why that makes sense. She's just like a really strong personality and would just so thrive in that environment. And so she applied, she got in at UND, and she was like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to law school.
Cool.
And then her boyfriend at the time, now husband, also was living in Minneapolis. That's where he was from.
Okay.
And he proposed, but our dad was like, she's in law school, so you're going to have to move here and be here until she finishes. And then he did, and they have never left.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah. So that's a fun complimentary to Three Farm Daughters, like as sisters. And then my background, I also went to Bethel. I've always just had like the entrepreneurship heart. And I think it's just from being ingrained in the nitty gritty of the family business. Like that's really all I've ever known and all we've ever known. So I did just some of like my own businesses growing up. I loved to be able to be creative in my own way and create income in my own way. And for me, that was doing a lot of like makeup. And then I went to aesthetic school after college to get my license so I could grow that business. And then I got my MBA at the same time.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
So it was a busy season. My boyfriend also at the time had moved from here to Minneapolis to get his degree. And when he graduated, he is a major North Dakota hometown boy. So the day he graduated, he was like, we were married. He's like, pack up the apartment. We are out. And it was the same day. We like got home at midnight, but it was the day he was done with class and he couldn't wait to get home.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I think just like we've always had that heart at home and wanted to be with the family. And then I opened a business with him in 2020, and Three Farm Daughters was also born that same year.
In
And
2020?
It was.
Okay.
And so what brought that on?
Yeah.
Was it
So
yeah.
that's interesting.
Mhm.
Because we get this question a lot, like, how did Three Farm Daughters really start?
Right.
And we never have a good answer. Do you feel like that? I always feel like that because it all just, like, all of a sudden it was like, oh my word, like, we're making pasta and we've got a pasta company. Like, it all just kind of
Snowballed.
we stumbled upon it. I know
Okay.
that isn't like the greatest answer, but so we had been growing a special wheat variety on our farm for about 3 years. My dad was a huge part of it as far as he reached out to the company that had the wheat variety and, you know, pitched North Dakota, pitched our farm, like why he thinks we should grow it. Him and Molly did that. So we grew the wheat for 3 years, and then it had those attributes that we really loved.
Okay. Which are?
It's high fiber.
Okay.
And this is really, groundbreaking for the pasta aisle because right now you have, really two avenues. You have traditional wheat pasta and you have the alternatives. And traditional wheat pasta generally gives you, delicious taste and texture, but other side effects like bloat,
Right.
maybe a GI spike, a crash. And not everybody can eat it because it can be really disruptive to the gut.
Yeah.
And so then on the alternative, you might have to give up something like taste and texture or something else, like the delicious sweet pasta you know and love. So we really have pushed ourselves in the middle of those and bridging that gap.
Okay.
So our pasta is high in fiber naturally. We have nothing added to it to give it that claim. And so it's really unique in the fact that in order to stay high fiber with no additives is groundbreaking because the competitors that we're going against that do have high fiber as well, it's been added. So to have that nutrition come straight from the field to the pantry is what gets us so excited about.
That is exciting.
Yeah.
And
The
so
enrichment
simple.
process is kind of what you're talking about, like enriching things back into the pasta to make it like they want it versus just coming directly from the product
Absolutely.
itself, the field.
So your dad found this wheat variety. You grew it on the farm for 3 years and then you thought, let's do something with it. Let's try making a pasta. So where do you do that? Like,
Yeah.
We actually are really lucky. I didn't know this until I was in the pasta business, but we have in Fargo, North Dakota, something called the Northern Crops Institute.
Yep.
And this is like the mecca of pasta R&D.
okay.
And so we drove down there many of times and did a bunch of R&D runs and figured out the best way to make this pasta. And so in 2020, and honestly ever since, we've eaten a ton. Our kids have eaten a ton of pasta. Our husbands eat a ton of pasta. But it was just kind of part of that learning process of what it would look like and what we wanted it to be like and the texture to be like. And so, yeah, we worked with NCI. And once we cooked it and we said, this is it, this is amazing. We did a small pilot project basically. And we put everything in cello bags. We kind of joke, we clip arted our first logo together, like the three girls, and one of them's holding a stalk of wheat. And after a year, and we got really good consumer feedback. We had gotten into 38 retailers, just the three of us with our dad's help, our cousin's help, and the farm help. And we were like, we're doing it. Like, we're in 38 retailers. That's a lot.
Awesome.
So wait, so 2020 to 2021, you made the pasta, figured out your packaging, and gotten that many retailers in a year? That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah. And so we were kind of at the point that we said, okay, we either need to take this full board or just keep it at this, because we were at the point that, Annie had even gone with our dad at like 5 a.m. to deliver to grocery stores because they have certain hours that you can deliver the back door. I mean, we're all moms that eventually wasn't going to work long term, but we wanted to grow the business. Yeah. And we took a lot of the buyer feedback from the retailers that we were partnered with that said, one of them said, you really should get a box because when my shelf gets low and you're sold out, it's laying down and the consumers can't even see it.
Okay.
So we took all those little things that they were telling us and added a lot of color, did a full rebrand, and then we relaunched actually in September 2022. So we had like we had a year in between there that we kind of stopped looking for new retailers because we knew this was coming out. We found distribution partners to help us grow the company as well. And so, yeah, we launched in September 22 with Whole Foods, which was our
That's
dream
a big name.
retailer.
Yeah.
Whole Foods. In this packaging, we have a
It's
couple
cool.
boxes here. It's so beautiful.
It's bright and
It's so pretty. And I remember the old school packaging because I've worked with Three Farm Daughters, developed some recipes for them. And I was on set with you guys when you were working on your new website. So there was photographers, there was cameras there, there was you, there was your kids, there were spouses. It was a hectic environment and there was no fighting. And that's
awesome. I mean, that's unheard of, really.
You guys were just cool, calm, and collected. Is it always like that? Because you seem to all kind of
you mesh
get along. You have your specialty. Is that the way it is? Or
I mean, we're siblings.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about this too. Like, how do we work as a family? Because that is also a question we get a lot. And I was just trying to really rack my mind, like, how does this work? I don't really even know how this works. But honestly, I think it's because it's all we've really known. Our parents started a company together. They've grown that together. Our aunt, uncle started a company together. Their kids work with them. My husband and I started a company together, and we work with that dynamic. Annie started a company with her husband. And so this whole family business is really what we've only ever known.
Okay.
And so I think that might be one of the reasons why it works so well.
Sure.
Okay.
And I think there's a part of it, we are outside of the company, we are friends as sisters. Our husbands are friends. They hang out, we hang out. We work all week together, and then we hang out on Friday night, which, like, I don't know. Why are we doing that? Why are we doing that? I don't know.
Are you eating pasta?
But there's a piece of it that when like, there's your sibling, your siblings so well and their story and like what their life is looking like, it gives you so much margin for grace to like know through their week, like, this is what they have going on. They're not going to be in this meeting and we're going to pivot and have, but you just make things work.
Yeah, flexibility.
Flexibility
I'm sure, is
and
key.
So I think that's a big reason of why it works so well.
So what were some of the struggles, I guess, early on with deciding, like, are we going to go bigger? Is this something we want?
There was numerous
scary?
struggles.
Yeah, we had a lot.
Very scary. And numerous times I felt like we were checking ourselves, like, are we actually a little nuts? Like, are we, like, what are we thinking? Like, are we drinking our own Kool-Aid? I would say one of the biggest struggles is that we went back to school because, we're farmers, we're in the egg industry. The CPG business is something that we don't have experience from. None of us came from a big corporation that had launched products, put products to market, knew what that pathway looked like. So essentially, when we started this, we went back to school. We went and got another education. And because of that, I think it's been advantageous for us because we have asked a lot of what people would call simple questions that don't really get brought up in meetings, but we honestly didn't know the answers to.
Yeah.
And because of that, I think we've made strategic moves as far as we haven't enriched our flour in anything. Our flour isn't enriched. So because of that, we actually have a longer shelf life because the first thing that breaks down is those minerals.
Okay.
So, and that isn't a typical way of doing things, but it was really, we knew who we are and we really want to stand true to, what we believed in. So even though it was the norm to put those enrichments in, we're saying, hey, we don't want to do that. And we didn't know that it was going to give us a longer shelf life, which is a business move strategically.
So it worked out.
It worked out in our favor.
And you had to kind of fight for that? Were people telling you to do that?
Well, there seemed to be a lot of, when you talk to people who have been in the CPG business for 30, 40 years, they're like, this is how you do it. And we came in before we even got to that step of, manufacturing. We knew who we were as sisters and as moms and wives and farmers, and we knew what we stood for. And so when we got to the point of manufacturing, like for Annie's example's sake with adding anything to put those vitamins and minerals back in, we just said no. And they're like, but that's just part of pasta manufacturing. It's been a struggle that we haven't been in the business, but it's been a benefit because we've been able to be creative in a way and stay true to the values that we have for the nutrition that we want to see in the product.
And that's what sets you apart from other pastas.
It's different.
Right. So in the end, good for you for sticking with what you wanted.
So I saw something on the label here that I wanted to ask you about. So, or maybe it was just in my research. It was like a specific cut.
Yes.
Like is it copper?
Bronze
cut. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely.
I hadn't necessarily heard of that before and I had to look it up. I'm like, what does that mean? What
sounds fancy, doesn't it?
Seems like cool.
Yeah. So bronze cut is the way that traditional pasta, like the really delicious Italian pasta that people love, is bronze cut. And it's the traditional way of making pasta. So what happens is when you make pasta, it gets extruded through a die. And typically right now, if it doesn't say bronze cut, it's extruded through a Teflon insert. And so it makes the pasta really smooth and silky. But when it's bronze cut, there's no insert. And so it's literally being extruded through a bronze die.
Okay.
And so what that's doing though is giving it that really porous texture. So when you look at our pasta in the box, it looks different than just the smooth that you're used to.
Yep.
And one of the reasons why it's amazing is because it gives an amazing texture, but it also helps to hold on to sauce really well. The only caveat here is that cavatappi is actually impossible to make bronze cut. So we actually, when we came out with our first 4 shapes, we worked with one of the best die makers in the US.
Yeah.
And we said, hey, we really want to design our own, which was a blast to do as sisters because we got to choose like how big the ridges on our penne are, what the rainbow on the elbow looks, and how big the opening is on the elbow so that you can get, when it's cooked, you can get some sauce in there.
Yeah.
But when it came to cavatappi, he was like, ladies, I'm telling you, it's impossible to make a bronze cavatappi because of the way it spins when it's extruded. So we just said, okay, but as true Midwesterners, it was hard for us to, put that one aside. Yeah. So we included it in the collection of our launch because, it's just so popular in hot dishes and casseroles.
I love the shape of that one too.
We had to keep that one in.
And the little twists on that cavatappi help hold the sauce.
Yep.
Yeah. And they do have a nice opening so sauce can sneak in there too.
Yeah. That's neat. Thanks for explaining that.
Yeah. Now I'm getting hungry. We should have brought in some cooked pasta.
I know. What's your favorite pasta dish that you make, Heather?
Oh my gosh. So I've eaten a lot of Three Farm Daughters pasta.
Yeah.
Don't be ashamed of that.
This recipe testing. There's this one. It's like a pasta salad. Because that's why I love this pasta too, because it holds up, right?
Yeah.
So oftentimes when you reheat a pasta or sometimes when you eat pasta cold, it has that weird kind of gummy texture.
Yeah, like a gel.
Yeah, not this. So there's this pasta salad that I do with, which would be perfect for spring. So it's romaine, lettuce. It's like a chopped salad, but with pasta. So romaine lettuce, lots of cheese, salami, the pasta, and then like an Italian vinaigrette. It's really nice. Yeah.
That's delicious.
I have to say, Heather also makes this really delicious bruschetta pasta.
Oh, right. That one's
and
good
when she made it for our launch photos.
Yeah.
And she came and helped us make the plates all look perfectly beautiful. And when the project was over, everyone was fighting over the bruschetta pasta before I left. I was like, I want the bag. They're like, we want the bag. I'm like, okay, take the bag.
Fine, we'll just have to make it again.
It's the best.
That's a good sign when people are fighting over the food. I like that.
I think too, in the summer, when people are asking about healthy eating, they're like, I'm just going to have a salad. And then they forget like the grain part of it.
Right.
So like add in pasta to your salad to make sure it's more balanced.
And more satisfying, right?
Yes, you get more fiber, you get more protein even from your pasta. And it just, I think it's an important thing that people don't often think of is adding it. I'm glad you mentioned the salad.
Yes.
That's cool.
The other really exciting thing about the nutrition in the pasta is that it's resistant starch fiber. And so resistant starch is starting to get a little bit more of a buzzword in the health community with nutrition. And what that means basically is that, when you eat something, it goes to your small intestine, then your large intestine to be digested. And resistant starch skips your small intestine and is digested in your large intestine. And what's happening is, so it's prebiotic fiber. What's happening is it's feeding your host microorganisms and creating short chain fatty acids like acetate, butyrate, propionate, which is contributing to a lot of health benefits like reduced inflammation, increasing mineral absorption,
Gut health.
It's
like the biggest buzzword.
Yes.
In nutrition.
Because it's so important. It's linked to our brain health. It's linked, it's everything, right?
Gut, brain. Yeah.
I love how you understood everything Grace just said.
Yep. The probiotics and prebiotics and yes. It's
that
food
is important.
for the bacteria.
And sometimes pasta gets a bad rap, right?
Yeah.
But not all pasta is created equal.
Totally.
Is what I've learned.
And as a dietitian, I always say there's no real bad foods.
Right.
Like unless you're severely allergic, probably don't exclude foods. Right.
So what about being in North Dakota, do you think made you able to launch this business and have this product?
So I think we've gotten a ton of support from North Dakota. One thing I will say is like North Dakota rallies behind North Dakota. So just the feedback we've gotten as far as, I said that we went and basically got an education when we launched this business. We had no idea what we're doing. we had a ton of Zoom calls with people within the industry, a lot of them from the Midwest and North Dakota. And they were so apt to help us, to give us their time, to give us their resources, to give us kind of the knowledge they have, the experiences they have. So I thought that positioned us so well to succeed. Mm-hmm. So that was huge for us with just being from North Dakota. Also just the fact that our farm office is just like right by the North Dakota State Mill. And they're a fantastic organization of what they do. And, they've been also a huge help for us. They've milled some product for us. It was a complete pain for them to do it, but they did it because they said, hey, you're a North Dakota company. We want to help you succeed.
Oh, that's great.
Awesome.
Oh, my word.
Amazing.
It has.
Camaraderie behind.
Mm-hmm.
And do you feel
companies.
like your product stands out because it's from North Dakota? Have you heard that at all from consumers or retailers?
One of the big things is that it's grown, milled, and made in the USA.
Mm-hmm.
So, obviously in 2020, some shelves in the grocery stores were empty, and consumers were like, "Hey, can you get this shelf filled?" And they were like, "There's nothing in the back. Like, it's gone." And so it created this awareness in consumers to say, where does our food come from?
Yep.
Where is it grown?
Mm-hmm.
Who's growing it?
Mm-hmm.
And so with Three Farm Daughters, we've been able to, bridge the gap between farm to shelf with consumers. And so on, social media, we actually get to connect with people that are eating our product. So
that's important, I think. And that's what we hear too as dietitians. I know, is it, I'm eating more locally grown or...
Well, it's that connection too. Like I love knowing the people that are growing my food.
Me too. Because then I think it's a trust thing too. Like if you know the folks that are growing your food, you feel like you can trust them. Like, and that's important with relationship building.
Absolutely.
And like, I think product identity as well. Like, oh, I eat this, and like, oh, what's that? People do that.
They do. Are we ready for a host halftime?
Are we ever really ready, Heather?
All right, ladies.
Let me get my...
We've got a trophy here. We're going to have you ask us 3 questions. They can be any questions. And Jen and I are going to do our best to answer. Whoever gets the most right or closest to will win the coveted corn trophy.
Oh my gosh.
It's been looking nice at my house.
Yeah,
I'm going to be sad because I went and got a specific table now for it.
No, you didn't.
No, I didn't.
Does it have a spotlight? The trophy cases. There it is. And then you play music when
There's
I
a
walk
little
in.
light,
It's like,
Okay, ready?
Ready.
Question number 1. What is the top selling pasta shape in the United States?
I mean, I'm just guessing, but... Oh, now I'm just saying this.
And this is including longs
Jen, then
and shorts.
I was gonna switch to what Jen said, but I said elbow.
spaghetti.
Spaghetti.
Oh!
Yes. I think
classic.
I feel a redemption.
But then I was scared that I didn't know how to spell spaghetti, so I just stuck with elbow.
I know, right? Some days I'm like, is it I before E except after C or...
Okay, what's the next one?
How many states has Three From Daughters pasta been shipped to?
Ooh. Okay, well, you said you're at Whole Foods, so that's in a lot of places. Okay, there's 50 states. I'm going to say 48.
36.
We have shipped to all 50.
Wow! You're in
That's
Hawaii?
awesome.
That's amazing.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so it's tied. Oh my gosh. I think I'm sweating now. I mean, this is down to the wire.
That's really cool that you
That's
shipped to all
awesome.
50 states.
I love it.
How many different cuts of pasta or pasta shapes are there
Like,
Wow.
that exist?
I bet there's a lot in Italy that we don't even know about.
I'm thinking of the shelf when I'm grocery shopping.
know.
I'm like, yeah, there's a
Well,
lot
it's the whole
there.
aisle, it feels like, too,
I
right?
know. Like sheep.
I know. Okay. And we're counting orzo, I'd imagine?
Yeah,
Okay.
Of course.
Those
Yes,
little guys?
the little tiny,
Okay,
like rice.
okay.
Like,
I'm going to say 125. Just, I like that number. I shouldn't have said that before you wrote yours.
130?
Over 500.
What?
Yes.
That's incredible. Wow.
Yes. Redemption feels
Have you
good.
guys thought about putting out any more shapes, or are you just sticking with the 4?
We have thought about it.
Oh.
Actually, speaking of social media, we have used our Instagram to try to decide what shape to come out with next.
And what are they
that's
telling you?
cool.
Well, we've really gone back and forth between a couple, but we're still in the midst. So I don't even know if I want to.
Yeah, I was going to say,
So
are you
everyone
want
can
like
go-
the latest
So
and
people
greatest,
should
right?
go to your social media, 3 Farm Daughters, and vote for what they want to see next.
Yeah. And
Okay.
here's the thing. We are very active on Instagram. So when you comment like, I want to see this shape, we see it. And
Okay.
we are hearing it. We are taking that into consideration. We really do use that to help us figure out what to develop next.
Yeah,
Okay.
consumer feedback.
Yeah.
It's important.
But if you want a little teaser that I can really give you, we are in the midst of coming out with long shapes.
Ooh,
Yes.
So we're
Okay.
very, very excited about that.
that is exciting.
That is.
Okay.
I feel like pasta is a huge thing at my household.
I mean, at least
that's my
once a
daughter's
week.
favorite food. Mom, can we have spaghetti? Mom, can we have spaghetti?
Mhm.
I'm like, what do you want for dinner? Give me some ideas. How about spaghetti? I'm like,
Spaghetti it is.
spaghetti. Let me guess. Spaghetti. Well, I'm going to like just
Oh, yeah. Get that trophy over here.
write my name on it. Seriously, this has been
Yes. Thank you for coming in. So we always ask a
Awesome.
question at the end. What's
Mhm.
your favorite part about being a part of North Dakota agriculture?
You know, I think one of my favorite parts is that, you know, when you run into someone on the street, you always are like, how are you? And then you talk about the weather.
Mm-hmm.
When you're in North Dakota or, you know, like heavily states that are heavy in ag, when you say it's like, how's the weather? For a lot of people in our community, that means more than just like
Yeah, it
if the
does.
sun is shining or the sun's not shining.
Mm-hmm.
It means like what their outlook looks like for the year.
Mhm.
And, you know, like it just feels so much like a family in the community. And I think that's one of my favorite parts.
Yeah.
the connections.
The connection.
I would say mine is the variety. So if you go to the I states, you got corn on the right, soybeans on the left, corn on the right, soybeans on the left. I feel like we can drive in our country and it's, oh, there's navy beans. Oh, there's pinto beans. Oh, there's corn. Oh, there's soybeans. Oh, there's sugar beets. Oh, there's potatoes. So just the variety that we have, I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's recognized enough.
That's
think
true.
so,
We're
too.
learning that here. It's so many
Yes.
different crops. It's incredible. Well, thank you, ladies, for
Yes,
coming and
thanks
say
for
hi to
coming.
Molly for us.
We will.
Next time we'll have her
Yes.
on there too.
All right. And thank you for joining us. Send in your questions. We'll try to find the answers. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Common Ground North Dakota podcast. Make sure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Most importantly, send us your questions about North Dakota agriculture by visiting our website. You might win a prize. We'll see you in the next episode of the Common Ground North Dakota podcast.